So good afternoon, everybody. My name's David from Pacific Northern Gas, or PNG for short. We're a little regulated natural gas utility serving northern BC, proudly serving our customers for almost 55 years, since 1968. And I see some customers, I see some communities in the audience, so a heartfelt thanks to you all for your business. You know, PNG is delighted to sponsor this amazing conference, delighted to sponsor this important conversation around energy. And I'd like to hit you with a little resource forum headline. Let's go with energy collaboration. Energy collaboration. What does that mean, Dave? Well, think about this. It's not a conversation about electricity or gas. It's electricity and gas. It's wires and pipes working together to provide the critical energy infrastructure that we need to drive resource development in northern BC. And so with that, it's my pleasure and my privilege to introduce our keynote speaker. Chris O'Reilly is the president and CEO of BC Hydro. Something you may not know is that Chris joined BC Hydro straight out of school as an engineer in training 35 years ago, Chris. And he's worked his way up. He's worked in every facet of the BC Hydro business, which makes him uniquely qualified to lead the company. His thoughtful insights, his curiosity, his love for the electricity business will be on display momentarily. Please join me in a warm welcome for Chris O'Reilly.
Thank you so much, David. It's really wonderful to be here, and I really appreciate the warm welcome, and it's good to be here in Prince George again with so many new and familiar faces here at the 22nd BC Natural Resources Forum. I want to start by acknowledging that we're here on the territory of the Lheidli T'enneh, and we're really grateful that they're hosting this event. I want to congratulate the nation for becoming a partner in one of the wind projects from our recent call for power. I want to recognize their leadership and for working with us as part of the energy transition. So privileged to have them participate. Many of the folks in the room here today represent our largest customers and partners of various kinds, customers, First Nations, community groups, independent power producers, suppliers, and representatives of different levels of government. So I want to thank all of you for being part of the discussion, for being part of this tremendous moment we find ourselves in the history of our province and in the energy transition. Before we jump into where we are headed and how we can work together, I want to reflect on the drought that we've experienced and how we've managed through it. And I recognize that this is something that's also impacted many communities in the province and other companies, organizations as well. So first I want to say that we at BC Hydro are used to managing the ups and downs of water from year to year. It has a big impact on our system, our reservoirs, our production, and we know that some years have high precipitation, high inflows, and some years, other years are low. And we know there can be a wide range of outcomes. So starting in 2022, we have experienced a historic drought in BC that has impacted our reservoirs. And it's a drought that is at the edge of what we've experienced in the province in recent history, going back to the 1940s. There have been a lot of questions about the link between climate change and drought and whether this is a permanent thing, whether it's part of a drying in the province. And I want to be clear that at BC Hydro, we are not seeing a trend towards drying in the province. Unlike with temperature, where there's been a clear connection between climate change and the temperatures we're experiencing here and elsewhere around the world, we continue to see high variability in weather from year to year, and this drought is part of that. Our hydroelectric system is designed and operated to serve our customers safely and reliably across a wide range of conditions and weather events, from heavy flooding and rainfall to drought conditions. And during periods of low inflows, we manage for drought conditions by relying on our large storage reservoirs and by importing power. And we have been importing and exporting power as part of how we manage this variability, and we've been doing that for decades. Even with drought conditions, we have been a net exporter of electricity for the last 5 years, and we gain revenues from the sales in export years. We also gain revenues and profits from trade income on top of that, and all of those go to reducing the costs that are carried by our customers here in the province. There is a net benefit from trade that we've seen over the long term, and all of that goes back to our customers. Looking at the current conditions, the good news is that with the rain we received over the last 3 months in the fall, the drought designations were removed for most parts of BC's, and certainly the basins that we operate, and we've had much better forecasts for the Columbia and Williston Peace River basins, where our main reservoirs. To provide some perspective, I'd like to show you a couple images. This one is for the Arrow Lakes Reservoir near Castlegar, and this is at the Scotties Marina, and so you can see the land. That picture was taken in October 2023 when the reservoir was at 1,390 feet, and so for context, on the same day in 2024, the reservoir was 21 feet higher than it was in 2023, so quite significant. This photo was from the same area in September 2024 when the reservoir was over 1,400 feet, so about 7 feet higher than it was at the same time in the previous year. And while we certainly can't predict the weather conditions, the increased precipitation we've received, and that includes the snowpack that is already built, means that our reservoirs are much healthier and higher than they were over the past 2 years. Managing our operations through this challenging period without impacts to our customers, I want to reiterate, took significant action and planning by our teams, and I'm really proud of the work they have done. And my hope is this dialogue that we've had around how we manage through droughts will give you more confidence in our system and our ability to manage through difficult conditions and deliver reliable power. I do want to shift now to what's ahead of us, and we are forecasting a sharp increase in the demand for electricity, and that comes from a number of areas. It's the significant population growth we have seen and expect to see in our province. We have a tremendous roster of industrial projects that are being developed. We talked about that over the last few days here in British Columbia, and we have electrification of things like electric vehicles and heating, building heating, as our customers seek to reduce their carbon emissions. We know that our system today will not meet tomorrow's needs, and I want to talk today about the significant steps we're taking towards increasing the supply of electricity that is needed in our province, and what we're doing to build out our system to support this growth, and the work we're doing to connect new homes and businesses across the province, and really how we can work together to seize the opportunities. Our integrated resource plan was approved by the BC Utilities Commission last spring after a multi-year effort and lots of involvement, stakeholder and First Nation and individual involvement. It lays out our plan to meet the load growth across a range of scenarios. It is designed to be flexible, and that prepares us for higher loads associated with greater take-up of electricity, as well as lower loads from economic downturn. What is notable is that demand has been largely flat over the last 15 years. That's a function of conservation as well as declines in the forest sector. So when you look backwards versus looking forwards, you get quite a different picture. So I'll talk about what we're doing to increase supply so our customers know that we will have the electricity they've relied on in the past and that will be there for them in the future. So on the generation side, we recently marked the culmination of one of the most important initiatives that we've got underway, and that is our call for power. We awarded electricity purchase agreements to 10 renewable energy projects. There were 9 wind projects and 1 solar projects, and together they will generate about 5,000 gigawatt hours, coincidentally about the same as Site C, equivalent to about 500,000 homes, or 8% of supply. What is notable is these projects are quite diverse around the province, which is a really positive and frankly a bit unexpected. We expected more in the northeast of the province, and they're representing almost every region we have, including 4 wind projects right here in northern BC. The energy profile of these projects is well suited to our load. They deliver more energy in the fall and winter when the demand for power in the province is higher. We estimate that the development and construction of these projects will generate about $6 billion in capital spending before multipliers, and that is all over the province, and we estimate about 2,000 jobs on average during construction. Keeping rates affordable remains a top priority for us, and when you adjust these prices from this call to today's dollars, the average price from the successful projects in this call is about 40% lower than our last call for power, which was about 15 years ago. In the development of the call, we engaged extensively with First Nations around the province on the design, and we included a requirement for the first time that projects have a minimum 25% First Nations ownership, and there were incentives in the arrangement for up to 51%. And we are really pleased to report that nearly all the projects have First Nations majority ownership, which, if you apply that to the $6 billion of capital, we're really talking about $3 billion of asset ownership by First Nations, which I think is really extraordinary. These projects represent 6 development companies, and we're really pleased to have a good participation from the sector. 10 First Nations across the province, and we think is a testament to our province's commitment to advancing economic reconciliation, and it really marks a historic step forward in terms of our energy partnerships with First Nations. I want to acknowledge the role of the Canada Infrastructure Bank, and they played a pivotal role in providing First Nations with financial support to participate in the call for power through the Indigenous Equity Initiative loans and the project loans to the project. We also benefited from the Clean Technology Investment Tax Credit from the provincial government, which provides from the federal government, which provides tax credits for up to 30% of capital investments in renewable electricity generation projects. And to help make sure we can work urgently to achieve our targets, the province announced that it intends to exempt the wind-based clean energy projects from environmental assessments, and we are working to get them on the system and in service as quickly as possible. But we're not done there. Together with the province, we are committed to conducting regular competitive calls for power, and we expect to work through the consultation on what that looks like in the coming year. I want to turn now to Site C, and I was really struck listening to Jason Klein and really enjoyed hearing his pride in the accomplishment that was achieved with LNG Canada. And I have to say, we tend to be a bit circumspect at BC Hydro about talking about our achievements, and so I didn't have anything on this in the notes, so I'll just add a few things. And as you know, it was an enormously difficult project, almost 20 years in the making. The project had its origin in the 2004 Integrated Resource Plan. And I am really grateful for the work of our own employees on the project as the owners team, our contractors who worked on the project, including our First Nations contractors. There was about $900 million of directed First Nations procurement on the project. All the workers on the project, most of whom were from British Columbia, but we had folks from across Canada work on this project. And we all know the extreme winter conditions that you can face in the north. We did face. We worked year-round on the project. We worked through forest fire seasons and smoke alerts, and of course COVID So it was tremendously successful. And the team successfully managed all manner of challenges, faced all manner of challenges, and we're really glad to have started producing power in October. So we've recently reached... Thank you. We don't pause for the applause. That's part of our circumspection. So we recently reached a number of significant milestones on the project. So before Christmas, we completed filling the reservoir and did so safely. That was very important. And as I said, we have 2 units in service and have been producing power through our winter peak. So we're really pleased about that. And we'll expect the 3rd unit in early February. So again, ahead of our public schedule. So over the remaining year, the work will focus on completing the units in the powerhouse and the powerhouse and generating station. There's a bit more work to assemble the last 3 units. We'll be commissioning and testing them and bringing them into service. The project will, as I said, serve about 5,000, well, provide 5,000 gigawatt hours, about 8% of our load, and that's about 500,000 homes or 1.7 million electric vehicles for comparison. It will also help us integrate more renewables because we've got some flexibility with the system, so we'll be able to grow our renewable component as well. We don't talk as much about our conservation efforts, and I think they deserve a highlight here. So we have a new energy efficiency plan. We're investing over $700 million in tools, technology programs, and rebates for customers over the next 3 years to encourage more efficient choices around energy and to support the energy transition. So this is a 60% increase over previous budgets, and we estimate that this will save our customers $80 million per year in their bills. We expect the 3-year plan will help us reach our 2030 target of another 2,000 gigawatt hours, so about 4%, and that is enough to power 200,000 homes in our province. For many of the businesses in the room today, this means that we will help you invest in your businesses to make them more efficient. And I really encourage you, if you've not done so already, to speak to our key account managers, and we've got a number of those at the conference. The actions we're taking on the supply side will work in tandem with our $36 billion 10-year capital plan, and that was announced last year by the Premier at the BC Natural Resources Forum here. The plan will focus on community and regional infrastructure investments across our province. It's an increase of about 50% compared to our previous capital plan. Breaking down the $36 billion, about $21 billion will be used to sustain existing capital assets, things like dam safety and reliability investments. And we've got $15 billion, which is focused on growth, including electrification and GHG reduction, getting customers connected, and generally addressing load growth. At a high level, we've got 7 new substations in the plan. There are 30 expansions or redevelopments of existing substations, 3 regional transmission capacity expansions, 50 new distribution feeders, 250 kilometers of new underground distribution, more than 50 transmission projects of varying sizes, upgrades to dams and generating stations, replacing over 25,000 transformers. These are the ones that you see on the poles, and about 100,000 new power poles, and that's about 10% of the million poles that we have on our system. As the Premier mentioned last night, these are important investments that will create economic opportunity across the province, and these investments will provide many thousands of high-quality jobs for skilled workers. They're going to generate economic growth for First Nations and communities all over British Columbia. Here in the north, we're investing $4.7 billion over the next 10 years, and one of the most significant investments in the region will be the North Coast Transmission Line project. Today, the area to the west of Prince George is served by one 500 kilovolt line to Terrace, and then we've got smaller lines north, west, and south, and we have support from Rio Tinto through our agreements there and some independent power producers. We are seeing significant potential growth in the area, and we have initiated projects to build the new lines and twin the existing 500 kilovolt system between Prince George and Terrace to meet these significant new loads. And this project will also improve reliability in the region. As the Premier announced last night, the province is taking action to speed up the project by enabling the BC Energy Regulator to act as a one-window regulator for permits necessary to build the new infrastructure. And this action will help ensure the project is built as fast and efficiently as possible. We are currently working with First Nations along the line to determine the leading route, and we are in deep discussions with First Nations along with the province on a co-ownership model, which we think will be a landmark for the country. So to summarize these actions, we have a very comprehensive plan for meeting the growing loads in the province. We recognize and that we are at the center of economic development plans in this province, and we take that responsibility seriously. We are increasing supply. We are building our system to accommodate the anticipated growth, and we're working to reduce timelines and costs for connecting new customers. And we're working hard to expand our customer offerings to ensure we are meeting them where they are and meeting their needs. So thank you so much. And